So this is some bad news, and this is like another thing that sort of makes me scratch my head. Like I ask, is this really what Microsoft thinks is going to lead people to, their platform? Or like I honestly I don't understand how this happened. Like, how can Microsoft let this stuff happen? How can Microsoft, be okay with the way some of this stuff happens? Like, it blows my mind that we see stuff like this. I mean, we're in 2025. Microsoft is literally putting their best games on the PlayStation platform, and yet they're allowing this to happen. They're allowing this to happen, and they're allowing their own fans to be completely like hoodwinked by all this stuff, and it honestly does kind of make me mad. You know what I mean? Just as someone who has been a long, loyal Xbox fan myself, you see stuff like this happen, and then you see these warnings, and it's like, man, like, people think Sony's going to play nice, or people think that Sony respects what Microsoft is doing. It's crazy. I don't see how this works out. I honestly, I don't see how Microsoft can be okay with, like, they literally must not care about their platform at all for stuff like this to get hacked. And I'm going to get into this because I think I find this to be egregious. Just, if you're an Xbox fan, you should be finding this to be egregious, right? Like, how does Microsoft let this happen? This is absolutely insanity, and it just goes to show, because I said years ago, I was like, look, if Microsoft doesn't go out and be proactive with third parties, getting third-party content, third-party deals, marketing rights, all these kind of things, then you're basically giving away those things, because you're going to have the worst platform version of these games, and that's not going to go over well with anybody. So, this is interesting. Battlefield 6 was just released. If your Battlefield 6 crew plays on Xbox, it actually learns less XP than on PlayStation. You heard that right. You play Battlefield 6 on Xbox with a group of friends, you're going to earn less XP on that platform than the PlayStation. That is insanity to me, but it is 100% accurate. Battlefield 6 is out now, and after 4 years of waiting, thousands and thousands of players are getting into the game's vast multiplayer suite, and obviously for years to come, people are going to continue to play this game. I'm hearing, really, really good things about it. It sounds like, they finally nailed it and kind of, got things right. And listen, it's good because, again, it just shows what competition is all about. I know people always hear me talk about competition and how important it is. This is the reason why, right? Battlefield 2042 was a horrible flop, right? And then, people stuck with, Call of Duty and, all these different things. And then when you look at things and you look at kind of how Microsoft is handling, the way that they do things nowadays, and now it looks like because Battlefield fought back, Call of Duty could be in some trouble, right? And it's going to make them go out and do things differently and actually care. Like, you saw it a little bit, and this is a little bit off the topic of this video entirely, but look at like those crazy skins that Call of Duty were adding, like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and Beavis and Butthead and Seth Rogen, right? Like, people were calling this stuff out. And Call of Duty isn't Fortnite. People play Call of Duty out because they don't want to play Fortnite for the most part. And having all these crazy things in the game makes it less fun and less, what they're looking for. And so what happened? The next game's not going to have that. And so that's what competition really does, and what it's kind of all about. So yeah, this is kind of interesting to me that this is happening, that you can get more, you can actually end up earning more XP. It's crazy, honestly, but insane. Bringing a good squad with you is always recommended for Battlefield, but as it turns out, your squad will be benefited if it plays on PlayStation over other platforms. As shared by Charlie Intel, it's been discovered that partying up with 2 or more PlayStation Plus subscribers nets your whole Battlefield 6 crew an extra 5% in bonus XP. While it isn't a huge boost, you actually get another 5% bonus just for being in a party in the first place. It still feels rather silly to to grant platform XP bonuses like this, especially in the day and age where crossplay is a big thing on most multiplayer games. Is this going to cause loads of players to change platforms to Battlefield 6? Well, if you only own an Xbox, you're probably going to play on Xbox, right? Equally, a 5% XP boost is hardly likely to convince a PlayStation player to stick around by itself. It just comes across as a little bit maybe outdated. Small boost makes it feel even more pointless, but you know, you have to kind of live with it. Timed and platform exclusives have been a long time coming in gaming. It's a thing that's been around for a long time. Xbox, of course, doesn't do any of that stuff, so it's just one of those things. You know, a lot of people, and this is an Xbox site that's like not understanding why you do it, blah, blah, blah. You know, I tell you why you do it, because you want people to buy into your platform, right? You want people to buy the game and have those extra reasons to play. You want those people, because there's a lot of people out there like me who own both platforms, and you want, you know, the game to be sold on your platform. So Sony gets that, you know, they understand that. They want to see people kind of go out there and, you know, be able to kind of do the things on the platform that they want to do, and that's exactly what, you know, what they're doing. And you know, and I get it too. Like, you listen, Microsoft, and I mentioned this a long time ago, like you could see kind of the waves turning a little bit after, like Microsoft, for a company that's worth trillions and trillions of dollars, right? They absolutely don't do anything to bring that to the fans, so to speak, right? Like they don't they're releasing games, and they have multiple games releasing in the next couple of weeks, right? You have Keeper releasing, you have Ninja Gaiden 4 releasing, you have The Outer Worlds 2, which was a game that they originally tried to charge $80 for, and you have zero marketing for any of these games by Microsoft. Like, Microsoft literally does not make any kind of effort to have these games be promoted, right? That's like, it's like they're this huge corporation. They just raised prices on their consoles twice in 4 months. They literally tried to raise prices on their games to $80. That would have been 2 price increases in the same year. They raised prices by 50% on Game Pass. It is just absolutely insane the way that we're kind of seeing these things kind of happen, and Microsoft just literally does not seem to care right now. And, you know, like I've mentioned this numerous times before, it is very, very unfortunate. And stuff like this, I mean, can you believe it? It's like, you know, I understand why some people would maybe go, oh, well, it's not a big deal or whatever, but it's just like all these little things add up, in my opinion. You know, like when PlayStation used to get exclusive PlayStation perks for Call of Duty, you know, that really helped sway people over to PlayStation and Call of Duty. Call of Duty, believe it or not, used to be the biggest thing going on Xbox. You know, you would even know, like I mentioned this a lot of the times, PlayStation was never where the home of Call of Duty. That was an Xbox thing. Even though Halo 3 would draw over 1 million onto the platform nightly, like Halo 3 would, Call of Duty, when a new Call of Duty came out, you'd see, you know, 3 million on that on Xbox, right? So it was huge, you know, and Xbox would pay for the maps for a month early and all this kind of stuff. And, you know, again, it's just one of those things that honestly you just sort of shake your head about. And for me anyway, the way that I look at Microsoft and the way that they handle what's going on, it's quite shocking to me that they do this still, right? That they allow this to happen to them, they allow this to happen to the fans, because, you know, again, all this stuff goes into a reason why you'd buy a platform. Like, okay, you see an Xbox, you see a PlayStation. Okay, well, why would I buy an Xbox? Well, maybe exclusives? No, they don't have any anymore. Maybe because Game Pass is the best deal in game? No, it's not the best deal in gaming anymore. You know, maybe because it's got some third-party exclusives? No, they don't really do big third-party exclusives or anything like that. So it's like, it's cheaper? No, it's not cheaper. You know what I mean? Like what is the reason there? It's like they're doing an excellent job of kind of killing off their platform, unfortunately. And just as a fan, you just sort of question it and go, okay, well, why does this continue to happen? and it seems to happen more and more to Microsoft than anybody else. And I think that's a big problem going forward. And hopefully they can get that fixed before too long, because, as fans, we definitely don't want to be seeing, Xbox exit. And I've mentioned this in competition before. You don't want to see Xbox exit the hardware situation, right? Look at Madden, how crappy that game can be. Look at NBA 2K. People buy it, but they always complain about it. Like, there's no competition there. There's no baseball game competition. That you get complacent, right? You would not want to see Sony get even more complacent than they already are. Trust me on that. I'll link this in the description. Let me know what you guys think. How do you feel about that? Would it make you switch or upset that Battlefield is played differently on a different platform and gets more XP? Let me know. Rack 'em up. Crap Gamer out.